Welcome back, guys. I'm your host, Owen LaFontaine, and today we're just going over a quick short video. So I want to get this channel out with 5 videos to start to kick start it off. So they're shorter. You saw the first one. That one will be the longest for this week. Then I go to the bi-weekly schedule, so forth. So this episode will not be on the podcast side. This is only for the YouTube side of things. So thank you for watching. Antarctica. So we all know about the glaciers, right? And the glaciers where people are like, oh no, they're melting. If they're melting, we'll add more salt water into the ocean, which will then raise the water level, which then will also increase salt level. No, it will not. The glaciers have been melting for thousands of years. Depending on what theory you believe in, the New World Theory or Old World Theory, they've been melting for thousands of years. And there's rain. It still rains, right? So the underneath of the glacier is melting, right? Which you could say was the beginning, which was on top. Now it's starting to melt. So the bottom is melting into the ocean, right? And this is coming down. Well, this is coming down. The glaciers are still there. They're just refreezing. Well, what is it refreezing with? Rainwater. Rainwater doesn't have a salt content. It leaves the salt in the ocean, which means as much as the salt water is under, not that all glaciers are freshwater, but for the most part, most of the glacier is saltwater. So yes, they're adding it, but I don't think it's as big as an issue. And I'm not scientifically. I did research. There's things with like the resurfacing of salt water, but the ocean is water level won't raise. Well, you might be like, that's a bunch of baloney. Isn't ice melting? Well, doesn't ice melt in your cup? It doesn't raise the level of it. All it is changing the density. So if you have an ice cup, a cup of water with ice, and you fill it perfectly to the brim with the ice in it already, obviously you're not going to put it in after it's going to overflow. You're going to put it in there. It's a full ice cube, right? You're going to let it melt. It's not going to flow over. You want to know why? Well, that's assuming that it won't condensate on the outside. If it does condensate on the outside, it will really not flow over. But if it's condensing, don't let it condensate. So all the water's in it, and you have this ice cube on top, right? And this ice cube melts. It already took up displacement. It is not taking up more space of the water. It's just change in form. So the glaciers, for example, are melting, and this is the water level. This is a glacier on top. All it is doing, like, it doesn't go like this, the glacier, and it doesn't find the equilibrium, right? It melts into it, but because it was already in the ocean, it stays the same. All it did was change forms, right? That's also assuming Antarctica doesn't have a landmass under it, which I can't prove. But I do believe if there's a landmass, it could be lifting the ice out of the water, but the landmass would have to be relatively high because glaciers are, for example, the biggest glacier in Antarctica is floating from what we know of. So realistically, if there was a landmass, yes, it could go up a little bit because the land's dispersing, so it's got to melt, right? But there's very little evidence that there's that land that high up to raise a glacier. So that is my theory on Antarctica, not Anacarta, Antarctica. I will get back to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. There's a quick little video on Antarctica, so stay tuned for more conspiracy theories on Antarctica. Stay tuned.